And he wasn't being cryptic there, or sorry, he only really does think one move ahead. Why? Because each of those 130 positions that he was looking, he already had that stored in long-term memory. Those were schemas that were already, he's seen these positions thousands of times. And he relates that to the end point, and he knows what is going to happen on all of these things. Global search of a schema that's already in his mind. So what do we learn? We learn it takes 10 years to become a grandmaster. Why? Because it takes time to get all of those schemas over and over and over again in your long-term memory. You must play this game thousands of times. By the time you've done that, you don't need to think. You don't need to plan. You've already got those moves in your mind. So grandmasters, they don't think 7, 10 moves ahead. They don't perform any better on memory tests. Their memory isn't any better than yours and mine. They have above average IQs, that's all. So this is a lesson for us in cognitive thinking. When you're looking at a radiograph, what is it that the expert has that you don't have? They've seen it 10,000 times. That's the advantage that they have. Nodine found that expert radiologists located true lesions within 25 seconds. Inexperienced radiologists took much longer and had a much lower rate. And not only that, the inexperienced radiologists, the longer they looked at it, the more errors they made. The longer they looked at it, when I first started, and I know this is true, when I first started looking at cone beams, I'd look at these things for hours. The longer I looked, the more disease I found. Errors, those are errors. What you really want to do is you want to have done this so many times that you can just look at it and quickly see it right off the bat. So this is what Kundal came up with, and notice the date. This is not new material. 1970, the expert's ability to extract the essence of a visual scene from a single glance or in a few brief glances. That's what the expert's ability. They see it immediately. And then Dr. Birnbaum has done a lot of things with eye movements, because what they wanted to know is, well, where are the experts looking? How is their pattern of scanning different from an inexperienced or error-prone thing? So they put this little thing on their thing, and it tests where their retina goes, and they can actually, this is from in mammograms, looking what is the difference between where experts look and where inexperienced people look, and the difference is remarkable. Experts see one, they go here, they go there, and they're done. Whereas inexperienced people are going here, they're going there, they're going all over the place. So expert radiologists fixate true abnormalities within 1 or 2 seconds. And most scanning occurs, you're not a global search, but you're scanning after, and all that is reconfirming what you saw in the first 1 or 2 seconds. Very, very interesting. So they found that this global search, it was just too fast because it takes time to scan a picture, right? It takes time. So you look at that. Now, if you're an endodontist and you've treated thousands of resorptions, you don't look at this for more than 2 seconds without seeing this. If you haven't treated 10,000 of these, you look at this and you don't pick this up. You may pick it up as you scan it, maybe not. But someone who's treated a lot of resorption can look at this, and in 1 or 2 seconds, they know that there's a problem right here. Can everybody see this on the thing? Does it show up? Okay. So again, let's say I'm an endodontist that treats extra invasive canal resorption a lot, and I have thousands of cases. How do I go up to someone who hasn't treated and say, I'm going to teach you how to see this? You can't do it, because this pattern is in my long-term memory. This schema is I've seen it 1,000 times, 10,000 times. I know I can look at this and within a second I know what it is because I have that visual schema in my long-term memory. Okay. See in the cone beam? This is why the cone beam is valuable for us. Okay. Researchers have found evidence that chess grandmasters rely on a vast store of knowledge of game positions. They recognize these as chunks, okay? This is a chunk. You look at this, you don't know this is Joe Dovgin. He's an endodontist, but when I show this to endodontists, they all recognize Joe. But if I ask you this, where's Waldo? You have to scan that, don't you? You have to scan that. You can't see this in a global search. So where's Waldo? Okay, now you've got to scan it. But a global search, see you're looking at this, a human face, that's a chunk. You're looking at this you're scanning, okay? You're scanning this. You're scanning that. You're not seeing it in a global chunk. So Kundal found that recognition of abnormality is too rapid to be caused by a search strategy. So these experts are not scanning, they're not searching. It's a global thing and they're done. So this is what they came up with. Global retinal analysis interacts with long-term memory to trigger a holistic recognition of available schemas and whether or not it is perturbed. The lesser emphasis on visual search accounts for both the accuracy and speed of expert radiologists. So what does that mean for us? We need to have holistic recognitions of schemas. That's what we need to do in our cone beam. We have to be able to do this. Okay. The inescapable conclusion is that experts are more perceptually sensitive to what constitutes a true abnormality in a medical image, and this perceptual sensitivity must come from seeing, classifying, storing, and receiving feedback on large numbers of normal and abnormal perturbations, templates in long-term memory, exactly like chess grandmasters, exactly same idea. Okay. Without a repertoire of templates of image perturbations that have been verified, perceptual differentiation of true from false has no meaningful context within which to operate, and error ensues. That's why an expert cannot teach you how to become an expert. You don't have those schemas in your long-term memory. The only way to do it is to look at tens of thousands of images. This is from Kevin Birbaum. This kind of sums it up. Human consciousness does not have access to the workings of visual perception, only to its products, the percepts themselves. This is the reason that introspection has long been rejected as a methodology for the serious study of perception in experimental psychology. While radiologists have experiences that inform them about error-prone reading situations, they have no special way of seeing into the neural processing that supports pattern recognition. God, I wish I could write like that. Isn't that beautifully expressed? A very complex idea, just with clarity and precision. Human consciousness does not have access to the workings of visual perception, only to its products, the percepts themselves. This is the reason that introspection, me teaching you how to read, has been rejected as a methodology for the serious study of perception in experimental psychology. While radiologists have experiences that inform them about error-prone reading situations, they have no special way of seeing into the neural processing. They don't know what it is that they do. Very, very powerful concept and just beautifully expressed. I want to be able to write like that. Let's think about long-term memory. It's just like a hard drive. Short-term memory is like RAM. So your working memory is transitional memory. You know, if I ask you to count backwards from 100 by sevens, that takes up all of your RAM. That takes up all of your thing. If I ask you to do that and then also try to have a conversation with you, you can't do it. right? So working memory is like RAM. It's different than long-term memory. So the characteristics of short-term memory is it's very limited. You know, most people can remember 7 or 9, 5 letters or numbers in a row, and that's pretty much the thing. That's all short-term memory. With chunking, though, and when chunking, we're talking about getting that global thing. You're looking at that radiograph in chunks, and you see it. If I show that to you, how many of you can repeat the series of that numbers? Not many. If I show that to you, let me go back. Can you do that? Can anyone tell me what those letters were? What if I do this? You know what they are now? Yeah, because you chunked this. FBI, TV, IBM. Those are chunks. Those are in your long-term memory. Same thing here. Take a look at that. I'll let you think. Now I want you to repeat those words. Can you do it? You can't do it, can you? But I can give you some chunks that'll let you do it. You can repeat that immediately to me, right? Because it's a chunk. There's only 2 kinds of people in this world. Okay? That's a chunk. That's in your long-term memory. You don't have to use any of your working memory to do that. So the point of this is that when you're learning these schemas slowly and repetitively over time. These schemas are going from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. And you have to develop an entire library of these. And the last thing is satisfaction of search. Missing a substantial finding on a radiograph is an event that escapes few radiologists during their professional careers. And when one of these errors is pointed out, they can't believe that they did not see what now in retrospect seems obvious to them. That's called significance of search. And what it is this. Tuddenham proposed that when an observer was satisfied with the meaning of an image, active search was stopped. The phenomenon is real. Observers do not report unexpected findings on images when they have found something suggested by the original search task. So this is a danger for us, isn't it, reading cone beam volumes, because there's such an amount of material. There is danger there. So if you're taking a scan on every patient and you're looking at the whole mouth, man, be careful. Be careful. Because you're going to be very susceptible to a satisfaction of search area. You're looking for a thing, but if you've taken the whole arch, you're responsible for reading that arch. And you're responsible for finding things that you weren't looking for. That's the problem. Okay. So, as a last point, what can we do to improve our diagnostic accuracy? First, anyone who's using this tool has to have an understanding of how that image is created and reconstructed, and some understanding of how artifacts, what kind of artifacts, and what they look like. If you don't know how this is done, you're just going to be making all kinds of errors. Understand the kind of errors that are made in interpretation. Having some understanding of sensitivity and specificity and the trade-off that occurs if you increase one or decrease the other. Develop an understanding of conditional probabilities. What is the chance, what is the probability of A given that B has already happened? And is it different than the probability of B given that A has happened? That's going to be fundamental to really understanding what happens when you have a lot of uncertainty in the image. Understand the perceptual and cognitive issues with image interpretation, effortful practice, and for me, the most important lesson, which I didn't listen when I was doing my cone beam research, but I understand now, if any of you are performing research into imaging, please educate yourself on how professionals do it. Thank you very much.
I've heard it from so many other people I talked to. The last part is my presentation is going to be very short. It takes only a few minutes. And I'm going to discuss dental education in the United States. Is there a crisis? Presentation by Dr. Goodman really opened our eyes. We never thought about challenging p-value, really. We never thought about looking at statistics the way that he explained it to us. And now we are talking about cone beam, and Dr. Carr really had this wonderful presentation. As you may know, that many offices, they purchase different materials, different technologies, and we really don't know why we are using them, or we don't know if we are using them properly or not. But the big problem that we have, another problem I would like to talk about, is dental education in the United States. There is a shortage of faculty. I published this with Dr. Rich, we published this article that I have given it to you, so hopefully you have read it. But I will go over that briefly. We have a problem with shortage of faculty. But that does not mean having faculty from here and there, that we call them part-time faculty. Quite often, faculty, they go to universities because they have nothing else to do. Or they get bored. Or they would like to be in touch with the students. Or because administration needs them, really. That's why they go there. But we really need high-quality faculty. And there's a tremendous shortage in the country. Our schools, they are becoming more and more tuition-based institution. It's not unusual to pay 65, 70, 80, 92,000 here in Los Angeles tuition to go to a dental school. Our advanced programs are accepting more and more students from countries sometimes that you really have to go to United Nations to find out where they are. And the main reason is that because they have a scholarship from their governments and they can afford the tuition, not because they are qualified. And that's why the future is very alarming. And I would like you really to read this article, and hopefully if you have read it, you can now ask me questions. I would be glad to answer you, but we are going to finish it here. We have 5 more minutes, up to 3:30. And then a few more things quickly. The other challenge that we have is the new generation, that are very much comfortable with iPhone or iPad and new technology. They are not going to sit in a classroom, listen to a gentleman, a professor for 1 hour. They would like to get the information quickly. So we have a tremendous discrepancy between what we know as faculty and the new generation, which is coming into our schools. But also e-learning, which is providing access to our students from other countries, that they can provide education free of charge. And CE courses. Dental schools, they need CE courses to make money. Dental schools are really running weekend courses, not really private sector. We are used to blame private sector for that. But the reality is that dental schools are running that as well. And because they need money. And they are giving certificates to our colleagues. And you have to know that advanced programs are also certificates programs. They are not degree programs. And when it comes to research, the influence of private sector in research. And that's why many of treatment modalities that we have today, they are not better than before. You know, Dr. Carr talked beautifully about cone beam. How many times we have heard that I have used this bone graft and it really looks nice on radiograph? Try it. How many times we have heard that use this latest, let's say, membrane, I used it, the outcome is just fantastic. Trust me, I've done it before. And how many times we have asked our colleagues, what is the mechanism of action? And they don't know. What is the mechanism of action? Nobody knows. But we know to say the following: trust me, I've done it, it looks really nice. And our dental schools now, there are $600 a day institutions. It means when our students, they go home, they have to ask themselves this question: did I learn $600 today? So read this article, and hopefully you have read it, and I would like to thank Dr. Sandra Rich for this fabulous article. And if you have any question now, at this time I'm going to answer them. If not, I will see you next time. Dr. Carr.
I'm not really familiar with like the financing in dental schools, but if you can kind of just give an overview, where is all the money going? Where does it go?
I really don't know. Where does it go? That's a really good question.
You mean it's like the post office in the
Yes, yes. You know, it's fascinating because when you hire workers to work in a factory, they come, they work in your factory, but you give them salary. Our students, they come into your factory, they produce money, and then you send them home. And there is no salary. That's why it's a really good question, where the money goes. Because it's just unbelievable. I have a hard time to understand $600 a day. I really have a hard time to understand that. $92,000 or $100,000. And you know, there is a table in this article. Please read that. It's table 1. We have some new dental schools in the country. We have School of Arizona. We have Midwestern University. We have Western University, East Carolina University, Midwestern University, Rossman University, LECOM Dental School, and New England. And dental schools, they must have affiliation with a research-intensive center. And look at the same table when it comes to their affiliation. The first school, affiliation, School of Osteopathy. The second new dental school, affiliation, College of Osteopathic Medicine. The third one, University of Osteopathic Medicine. The fourth one, East Carolina University. This one is a good one. Midwestern University, affiliation, College of Osteopathic Medicine. The next one, University College of Pharmacy. The next one, College of Osteopathic Medicine. And the last one, College of Osteopathic Medicine. These are the affiliations that we have. Research intensive centers. And then, you know, Dr. Carr mentioned that, and Dr. Goodman, who is highly qualified, Dean of Research from Stanford. We have to be very careful with our publications. Private sector, but also dental schools, they can fool us by number of publications. That's not really what matters. What matters is really the quality of the publications. They can congratulate each other, or they can give awards to each other. That happens quite often. But really what matters is the quality of accomplishments, and whether or not we have a real outcome measurements and accountability. Another question. Yes.
I'd be interested in your take, just from a solution point of view, is what role does tenure actually play in any of this, if at all?
To become a tenure?
The fact of tenureship, if you got rid of it, or what role does tenure have to do with the high extensiveness, if then?
You know, I really don't know what the future of the schools are going to be. It may seem strange to you, but I really believe that they are going to disappear. I really don't believe they can compete with the private sector coming so strongly using e-learning from other countries.
What was your perspective then on the whole evidence-based learning experiment? Did it have any successes? Was it a total flop? What was your experience with that?
You know, it was not successful, as you know, because of one major problem, definition. We did not have the same definitions that Dr. Goodman explained this morning. We had so many problems with definitions, and that's why evidence-based dentistry became like a fashion. You like to go to a place to hear about that. But ultimately, the publications, they remain the same. And the number of new products, new procedures, new techniques coming to our profession did not change. Oh, you know, it has failed. Problem-based learning is not a new learning methodology. It's not. It was presented as new. It's not new at all. And problem-based learning is for a small group of students, not for a big number of students, for a small group, but also the interaction should be highly productive, not having one person sitting there and just listening to what is going on. And the problem that it has had has given some kind of arrogance to our graduates, thinking that they know everything. And that's why when they face the market, they fail quite often. Or when they are being hired by our colleagues, they get fired a few weeks later.
Actually, it's very true. Since '94 at Harvard University, we have that approach. Give the false belief to the residents that they have learned something very new, very creative. But when they go out there, they see the reality and it's not very true. And we're still continuing that.
All right. You know, I really would like to thank you a lot for coming here. We have from different states coming here, and it's truly wonderful. And hopefully you will continue to support these symposiums so we can have it the way it is, independent, and we can have quality speakers. And I would like to thank one more time Dr. Gary Carr, truly fabulous speaker and wonderful man. And I'm so glad that we had a common presentation together in New York. And thank you for our host, who was here in New York. I think he left. All right. Thank you so much, and I will see you hopefully soon. Bye-bye.